Hi, it's Paul Tilley again, and today I'm going to be talking about Unit 1. By now you should have had an opportunity to read Chapter 1, which really covers a lot of the material in Unit 1, and I also wanted to make sure you read the notes in the DL course. What I'm going to do today is to go through and give an explanation and be able to put some relevance to the topics that we're discussing. This chapter and this unit starts off by looking at what exactly is market research and why market research is done. Well, let's think about it. I'll give you an example. Tim Hortons just brought out dark roast coffee. And you ask yourself, why are they bringing out dark roast coffee? Well, the fact of the matter is that they're looking at the environment out there, the coffee drinking environment, and they're finding that their competitors, Starbucks, are offering darker coffee blends. They're also finding out through market research, which is information about what people are doing and their habits and trends. They also found out through that research that the sales of dark roast coffee, not only the brewed stuff but the actual beans, is increasing in Canada at greater than 10% a year. Thanks to market research and looking at what their competitors are doing, Tim Hortons recognized an opportunity that they could avail of. Hence, we have dark roast coffee. This is exactly what market research is supposed to do. It's supposed to give companies an idea of what customers need, want, and value. And based on that, then the companies can provide that value to the customers. This is very in line with the overall marketing concept that we discussed in the first year marketing courses. The marketing concept really focused on what does the customer want and being able to provide that to the customer. You should also note too the definition of marketing research. Some people would think that market research is going out and finding out about things. That's true, but proper marketing research entails not only finding out about things, but finding out about them using a methodology that gives accurate answers. And we do that through using scientific methodology. That is, we use procedures and processes that have been scientifically proven to represent the truth when we do a study. So, by definition, marketing research is the application of scientific principles and methodologies to seeking out the truth about events, circumstances, and people's buying habits. One of the considerations that we have to consider is, what is it in terms of marketing research that we're looking for? Essentially, there are two types of marketing research: basic marketing research and applied marketing research. Basic marketing research is research for the sake of research, to expand our overall understanding of the world and human nature. This course is more concerned, however, about the other type of marketing research, which is known as applied marketing research, which is being able to conduct marketing research for a specific purpose to achieve a certain goal and answer certain questions about a product, so that effectively an organization can sell more effectively, make more profit, or do a better job at what it does. We've also learned about a concept known as strategy in business. Strategy involves planning and the execution of that plan in order to achieve a specified goal. So a strategy, we could argue, is a plan that we orchestrate in order to be able to achieve a certain goal. Now in marketing research effectively gives us information so that we can achieve our goals. So it is very much linked with strategy. If we look at the marketing concept again, when we think about marketing concept, we are attempting to determine consumers' needs, meet those needs, and provide benefit to the customer. Marketing research allows us to do that. So the focus is on the customer, and marketing research allows us to find out exactly what the customer wants. If we can provide what the customer wants, that will allow us to increase our profitability and our long-run sustainability, which every firm wants to do. That's critical. So marketing research is critical to providing that long-run sustainability for any company. We also consider marketing research to be important for a number of areas of business, not just necessarily the marketing department. When we think about marketing research, it gives us information so that we can plan human resources, financial needs, product needs, inventories. All of these sorts of things can receive some sort of input from marketing research so that we can make our company more efficient across the board, not just in one area. So it is very much what we call a cross-functional effort. One of the key things in the buzzwords that you hear a lot today is the concept of creating a relationship with the customer. And this has really come up in the last 15 years. Relationship marketing relates to the ability of a company to create a lasting relationship with the customer, and for the customer to create a lasting relationship with the business. Very similar to human relationships. The idea of relationship marketing is that a customer who is connected with the business will not only buy one product, but will continue to buy a series of products. And if we consider the lifelong value of that customer, it could be tremendous for a firm. From the customer's point of view, having that relationship means that they'll get better service because the customer is important and known and a part of the company. So relationship marketing stresses the need to be able to identify what the customer's needs, be able to hopefully predict the customer's needs, meet the customer's needs or exceed the customer's needs, and to strengthen the relationship, very similar to any other type of relationship. And that's done a number of ways. And probably if we look today, social media has been one of the largest growth areas for contributing to the concept and the practice of relationship marketing. You should take special note of the section that deals with marketing research and strategic marketing management. You notice that in marketing, most things have some sort of procedure or process. Now, if you think about when we bring a product to market, or when we organize a firm, or when we consider how to do something, we normally break it into a process. Well, the same thing holds true with running a business, developing a strategy, and using that strategy to allow the business to become a sustaining, beneficial enterprise to the owners and society as a whole. One of the best values of marketing research is to be able to facilitate this process. If we look at the first stage of the process, the first stage of a process is, for any business, to identify opportunities out there in the marketplace. So if we think about opportunities, we say to ourselves, what is out there that we can do that nobody else is doing, hopefully, or that has an opportunity to make money that we can do better than anyone else? What are some of the things that we need to do? So any business is naturally going to ask that, no matter how large the business or how small the business. They're going to ask, what is it we can do better than anyone else in such a way that we can make money doing it? Marketing research can help do that. Finding out customers' needs, determining markets, determining opportunities, evaluating the value of those opportunities. Maybe there is an opportunity there, for example, but maybe it's not very valuable. You know, people might buy things, but if they're not willing to pay very much for them, is it valuable? So we got to be able to find the opportunity and evaluate the value of that opportunity. The next thing we need to do in terms of a strategic plan is we've got the opportunity identified. Now we move on to look at what segments we should look at. What I mean by segments is, let's assume that you have a small business and you feel that you can sell shoes, and you have some way to either make the shoes or distribute the shoes that you think is advantageous over all your competition. You do market research and you say, okay, I have this many potential customers out there. The next thing you're going to say is, do I want to go after everybody, or do I want to focus on key areas? And if I want to focus on key areas, what are those key areas? So marketing research allows us to identify the sections of the market, what we call market segments, that are most valuable to us as the manufacturer. So market research could be used to identify who are your customers. Things like what is their age, where do they live, what is their lifestyle, what are their personalities, what's their gender, do they live in a city, do they live in urban areas, do they live in rural areas. These are all questions that marketing research can answer, and with that information then we can determine whether or not there's a sufficient market size there to go after. And if there's a huge market size, that's the one that we're going to focus on. If it's a really small market size, it's probably not as valuable unless our strategy is to look for specific niches. But normally most businesses try to find the markets that are largest, and if they can get to those largest markets, and if those large markets are not already well served, this would provide a great opportunity for that business. The next stage is to actually take all of that information and then create a plan. So you need to be able to plan and implement the various aspects of your business. Now, when we think about the various aspects of the business from a marketing point of view, we're looking at things like the product, what will we sell, how big, what will it look like, what colors, the place, where are we going to sell it, how are we going to distribute it, the promotion, how are we going to communicate to the customer what we're going to do, and the price. What is it that customers are willing to pay for it? Market research can help answer all of the 4 Ps so that we can determine where we need to be in order to best meet the needs of the customer. Finally, the 4th stage of any strategic process is to say, okay, once we've done all that, then we need to really do an assessment of, have we achieved what we set out to achieve? So originally we set a goal, we do all of the previous parts, and then we ask ourselves, is this where it needs to be? Are we doing what needs to be done? So the assessment stage looks at things like profitability, sales, market size. Are we achieving our goals? And if not, why not? So we can use our assessment to evaluate our processes after the fact too. If we don't achieve our goals, why didn't we? So we've been talking about all the wonders of market research, but what about the limitations of market research? We should also be aware of that. Market research can only be valuable to us if there are certain things in place. And if those things are not in place, we should probably look at better ways to spend our money, our time, and our resources. Let's take, for example, the first initiative, the first issue, time. How much time do we have? If market research is going to take us, say, 5 months, yet we only have 1 month to get a product to market, probably doing market research will be of little to no value for us, because we won't have it all done by the time we need to bring our product to market. So market research and time are very important. We need to be able to allocate enough time to do the market research. If we don't have enough time, it's no point in doing the market research. The other thing is, depending on the type of product that we're selling, we may or may not have information on sales of that. If you brought out a brand new product that people have no experience in buying, and you have no way to estimate whether or not people will buy it, it's very difficult to do market research on that particular product. You can do market research on similar products, but on that particular product, it's a bit of an unknown. If we have a situation where we're trying to determine information on a product that nobody knows about or has no information on, it's very difficult to get good, credible information. So it's probably not worth doing marketing research if it's a brand new product or something that people are absolutely unfamiliar with. So that's an important point. We also have to think about the nature of the decision. Is it something when a person buys, what we mean by that is, when a person buys, do they put a lot of time into thinking about it, or do they just buy it on a whim? Let's say, for example, it's 1-cent candy on the shelf. Is it worthwhile doing an extensive bit of marketing research on why people buy your candy? If you can't make very much money and you're making on it, it's probably not worth it. Now, if you're making a car and you're spending billions of dollars on it and potentially many people will buy it, doing marketing research could be very, very important, because you can get access to that information and you can use that information to produce a product that people spend a lot of money, time, and effort on. So it is valuable in the case where the product is large and valuable and things like that. It's not nearly as valuable, market research that is not nearly as valuable if the product is not something that people spend a lot of time thinking about. They just buy it as a matter of course. So we also have to think about how valuable is information and at what cost is that information. So if we're going to do marketing research, we've got to ask ourselves, is that information that's going to come in from that valuable? Will it change our minds or our minds set? If our minds are set, why are we doing market research? So we need to be able to ask ourselves, how valuable is the information? And is the value of that information greater than the cost of capturing it? If, for example, we need to collect a whole bunch of information that will yield us a potential sale of $100, yet we know that it will cost over $1,000 to collect the data, then we're going to ask ourselves, is this a good idea? Probably not. Finally, in this section, we looked at how marketing research is evolving into the future. And we think about several things are coming to play that are affecting how and where and why we collect marketing research. The first one deals with communications technology. The internet seems to be the mantra with regards to communications technology. Because of the internet, some things are easier to find, easier to collect, and easier to get. That's certainly affecting market information. Like, for example, if you want to find out if someone has a car for sale in your town, you can go to Classifieds, or you can simply Google it to say, cars for sale in your town. That bit of research has become so easy now compared to 20 years ago thanks to computer technology. So that's having an incredible impact on how we collect data. The other thing that you should be worried about in terms of this is, how is global information collected? And can we get access to global information more easily now than ever before? And that certainly is the case. We have herds of information. In fact, probably the biggest challenge is we have too much information on which to base decisions, and that slows down the decision-making process. So we have to find some sweet spot between collecting information, collecting too much information, the scope and range of that information. So it's very important to think about the impact of the global environment on market research. So that is essentially what we're looking at in this unit. I want you to make sure that you take a look at you have taken a look at the chapter, make sure you've taken a look at the notes. Those notes in the chapter more or less follows along with the things that I have asked you to look at. At the end of the chapter, you'll notice there's some questions. I'd like you to take a look at them. They're not worth anything, and they're not worth anything for the course, but it will reinforce your learning on this. So take a look at those. Anyway, I wish you luck on that. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, 709-466-6948, or paul.tilley@cna.nl.ca. Thanks very much.